Toyota is the second best selling automaker here in the United States after General Motors, and they import over a million. Around 1.3 million vehicles are brought in from Mexico, Canada, and Japan. Japan being about 500,000, Canada being about 500,000, Mexico over 200,000 units every single year that are imported in the United States. But Toyota is maybe showing a bit of desperation here. Check this out. Toyota is considering exporting vehicles from the UK to the United States to avoid tariffs. Guys, this is gonna be a lot of fun to talk about. Grab your snacks and drinks, buckle in, and we're not done there because we have other news to talk about. Mainly, I want to talk about how Volkswagen is trying to finally, so many ads, guys, I apologize for the ads. They're finally trying to get into the hybrid game. Meanwhile, Toyota, Honda, the Koreans have been printing money the past 2 years with hybrids. Now Volkswagen, like Nissan, is late to the party. Will it matter? Well, we'll talk about that at the back end of this article. If you guys are new to the channel, my name's Kirk. I talk about car news just about every single day. I make a video or two on the daily regarding cars, as well as reviewing cars. I'm reviewing a Trail Boss Silverado today, so wait for that review to hit in the coming days as well. And I'm also leaving to Puerto Rico in just a couple days to drive Honda's new Passport. Off-road, on-road, all that good stuff, so stay tuned for that. But let's get into this article and talk about Toyota playing a little production chess here. Toyota considering exporting from UK to US to avoid tariffs. Now the reciprocal tariffs start April 2nd. We don't know what the tariffs will be relative to every single country. UK might have some of the lowest tariffs compared to Mexico for sure, Canada for sure. Those are going to be hit with 25% tariffs starting April 2nd. All right, we don't know what Japan's import tariffs are going to be, but maybe they're high. No one's probably going to be as high as Canada or Mexico, as Trump wants to bring those jobs that the American automakers and other automakers that sell so many cars in the United States, they wanted to make them cheaper in Canada. Well, I don't even know. Is it cheaper to make cars in Canada? Maybe for tax breaks. But anyways, definitely in Mexico is cheaper labor. Trump wants to bring those jobs back. But in the meantime, there's going to be heavy tariffs. Cars could get more expensive in the meantime. Remember, yesterday, I briefly touched on this, that Subaru is saying, hey, after April 2nd, car prices are subject to change. If you wrote up a deal prior to that, well, and the car is not delivered by then, it could be subject to change, even if there's a deposit on the car. Unless you take delivery before April 2nd, your car could go up in price. All right, so getting back to this article here, Toyota produced 98,000 vehicles from its 2 facilities in the UK. So we're going to go over to the Wikipedia page. All right. Here's the thing. They produced 90,000 vehicles there, but guess what? By the time 2018 came around, the plants were operating about 50% capacity. They're nowhere close to be able to maxing out those production lines. All right, so I would say theoretical maximum capacity is probably around 200,000 units, but they're currently operating at 50% capacity. So they could absolutely ramp up capacity to send vehicles to the United States. We need to look at what vehicles we would be getting from the UK potentially. All right, so first and foremost, well, they just make variations of the Corolla. This is a Suzuki Sways. It's a ridiculous word. I don't know how you guys, it reminds me like Patrick Swayze or something, rest in peace. Yes, this is the Corolla Sports Touring. They make that there. I've been saying for years, we need the Corolla wagon here in the United States. If the tariffs and some strange alternate reality that we're living in allows a Corolla wagon to make it into the United States with a 2-liter hybrid, I'm almost okay with that. That doesn't sound too bad to me. All right. Now they also make, I think, the Corolla sedan and possibly the Corolla hatchback there, but don't take my word for it. It's hard for me to find information on this plant. They do have an official plant here. Okay. Yes, they make the hatchback. Let's see. There's the wagon. There's a hatchback. So they don't make the sedan there. They just make the hatchback and the wagon, seemingly. And they also make hybrids there, which, of course, it's a UK. Now, we do make the Corolla stateside. Check this out. Toyota Motor Manufacturing, Mississippi. When I moved down to Florida, I actually passed this plant, and they make about 100,000 units per year. Now, I would say theoretical maximum capacity is around 200 units as well. Now, I've theorized for a while that Toyota should make their Corolla-based platform pickup truck, the Stout, that has been rumored for years now, but they should make it in this plant and then just import Corollas. So I've been saying that they already import Corolla hatchbacks from Japan and Corolla sedan hybrids from Japan into the United States. Stop making the Corolla here, just import them from the UK, import them from Japan, and let's make some pickup trucks here. But what do I know? All right, Ford's just printing money with the Maverick hybrid with zero competition. So here we have the Corollas being built here. But what could throw a wrench in this is that, well, let's say a lot of these Corollas have tons of parts that are made in Mexico or Canada, or they're parts that have to cross the border multiple times. It gets really, really complicated. Then Toyota, well, maybe they could ramp down production at the Mississippi plant and then bring in more Corollas from Japan, depending on what the tariffs are going to be there, and the UK, depending on what the tariffs are going to be there as well. All right. We know we have ample production capacity out of the UK. They're only operating about 50%. So that's just, isn't that mind-blowing that a car built in the UK could be brought into the United States because it's cheaper than ones made in Mississippi? Well, hashtag politics, right? I mean, if we look here, 1.2 million vehicles that Toyota built last year were in the United States, all right? Canada and Mexico each produced over 5,000. Well, Canada produced 533,000. Not all of them were sent to the United States. You got to keep in mind some of them are sent to Canada, other markets too. But guys, this is huge. Why is this volume so massive? Well, they make the Lexus RX, the Lexus NX in Canada, and they also make the RAV4 there. The best-selling vehicle here in North America that's not a pickup truck. And in fact, I think it actually beat the pickup trucks last year. Maybe the Ford F-150. I don't know. It's a massive, it almost sold 500,000 units alone, the RAV4. They also make it here in the United States in Kentucky, but there's all sorts of talks about that the RAV4 before the tariffs could be moved all to 100% in Canada. That's, who knows what's going to happen now. Now, 245,000 Toyotas were built in Mexico. Now, as far as I know, these are all Tacomas, and not all Tacomas make it to the United States for sale. Of course, some go to Canada, some go to Mexico, some go to other markets. But Toyota sells around 200,000 Tacomas here in the United States. Let's just say about 600,000 of these are sold in the United States. That's a lot of tariffs. That's a lot of price increases. And if they can get around that by bringing in these UK vehicles, these UK Corollas, and if the RAV4s have to go up so much in price, then maybe they bring in like just what can people afford at this point, right? We know we're heading into uncertain economic times globally. It's like, what can people afford? People are going to afford reliable transportation. And if it's a $25,000 Corolla hybrid, that's what they're going to buy if they can't afford the $45,000 new RAV4 hybrid. Time will tell. This is all, again, this is all assuming we can avoid tariffs on UK vehicles. So stay tuned. If Toyota somehow brings UK-made Corollas into the United States, I will update you on the channel. But I wanted to switch gears over to Volkswagen or Autocar. Volkswagen finally introducing full hybrid powertrains. Now, the T-Roc is a vehicle we don't get. The T-Roc, to my understanding, is kind of like a European-sized Taos. It's subcompact-ish, I would say. It's going to be, well, at least according to them, is a Prius style. However, they don't elaborate on the type of hybrid this is going to be. The most logical would be a Prius style. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, you have the gasoline engine, you have a motor generator, and then you have a drive motor. So you have two electric motors connected to the engine that communicate that power through a power split device. It's I think it's very affordable. There's no real transmission. Now, if they do it the Hyundai way, which is, I think, more expensive because it includes a true automatic transmission, a dual clutch in some cases, Volkswagen could go down this route. We'll find out. But in Volkswagen's case, all we know on this T-Roc that's going to be unveiled at the Munich Motor Show in September, this T-Roc hybrid will have a 1.5 turbo, and then they just say one electric motor. They don't specify if there's two motors like Toyotas. All right. They say it's like Toyotas, but they don't give us any clarification. Because check this out. They just say the internal combustion engine is combined with an electric motor and a battery. Well, if it's just one electric motor, a single motor hybrid system, that's more similar to Hyundai's system with a single really big drive motor that also is a motor generator. In Hyundai's case, that connects to like a 6-speed auto in most of their hybrids, or 6-speed dual clutch, all right, which I'm always worried about transmission failure in a hybrid. Like one of the benefits of a hybrid, at least Toyota and Honda's hybrids, is there is no true transmission. All right, it's kind of simulated. They call it an eCVT. It's not a CVT whatsoever with belts and pulleys and whatnot. All right, so it's very, very simple and very reliable because there's. All right, now we do have different power outputs from 150 kilowatts or around 201 horsepower to what would this be, about 200 kilowatts, 268 horsepower. That's a huge range for a hybrid system with just one engine. Now, how can they get to different power numbers here? The electric motor is not going to change. The electric motor output could change due to the size of the hybrid battery pack. So let's say the Tiguan. If the Tiguan should get this hybrid powertrain eventually in America. Who knows when? All right, it's going to start in Europe. This availability on this hybrid, which we'll talk more about that here in a little bit, is availability. But let's say a Tiguan battery gets 268 horsepower. It's a bigger battery. Now, something like the Taos or the T-Roc could have a much smaller battery, less output to the electric motor. Now, how else could you get different horsepower numbers? Well, different tunings on the 1.5 turbo. 1.5 turbo in one configuration could be rated at 150 horsepower, made it to a 50 horsepower electric motor to get us to 200, or it could be rated at maybe 215 horsepower to get us to the 268 horsepower. So it just depends on the application, the tuning, the battery size. And torque is 258 pound-feet to 295 pound-feet. Again, that difference in torque could also be due to the tuning of the engine, also the size of the battery pack. Now, the fact that they are saying torque numbers makes me think that this is not a Prius system. Toyota hardly ever rates their hybrids on torque for lots of different reasons, but they don't publish torque numbers outside of the gasoline engine, or the combined, I should say, the combined torque numbers. They don't do that often. The only time they've done it recently has been for their performance hybrids, which has a single motor hybrid, which is similar to Hyundai's hybrid. So if you look at the Hybrid Max seen in the Crown, for example, or the Grand Highlander, or the Lexus TX has it too, the RX 500H, for example. Anyways, that has a 2.4 turbo with a 6-speed auto, but in between the engine and the 6-speed auto, there's a big electric motor. All right. And so it looks like Volkswagen is going to go down that route and probably connect this 1.5 turbo to a single electric motor, and then connect that to maybe their 7-speed DCT that I recently tested in the GLI. So there's a lot of information not known to us, but we know we'll have definite answers come September when they unveil this with the T-Roc. Now, they're saying they could get it in the Golf. It's not going to happen in the Golf here unless they make a hybrid GTI, which is a possibility. It's not out of the equation. Skoda Octavia, we don't get that, obviously. All right, so the Tiguan, the Passat, we don't get the Passat anymore. The Tayron is the same thing as a Tiguan, just for other markets. We could see an Audi's A3, for example, and that's about it for the cars that we would see. I hope we would see it in the Jetta here. The Jetta it would be excellent to have it in that car. We would love to have it, since it's coming in the T-Roc, we would also love it to have it on the Taos. But the problem is, back to tariffs, is the Taos, the Jetta, the Tiguan. All those cars are made down in Mexico. So it's like, well, that's probably the last place that they're going to be implementing hybrids, even though Volkswagen could be printing money with their hybrids. It would bring so many people into the brand that wouldn't be there, that isn't there right now. All right. If they had really, really good hybrids that get 50 miles per gallon, for example, Volkswagen could do it. Volkswagen's efficiency on their gasoline engines that are not hybrids are very, very impressive. And you mate that to a new hybrid system, then Volkswagen could be cooking with fire here, because people, for the most part, really don't want their EVs here in the United States. And from my understanding, their EV demand in Europe is also dipping. And having a good hybrid technology that's efficient and powerful, and you don't have to plug it in, that's great. All right, that's going to work well for a lot of people as a non-plug-in hybrid, a standard hybrid. So Volkswagen still investing in internal combustion engine to 2028, possibly beyond, including a new hybrid drivetrain. So Volkswagen, you can't bring it to the market soon enough. We don't even have a launch date for this. We just know that when it's going to be revealed. It should be, in theory, if it's revealed in September, within the next 6 months, maybe early 2026, this hybrid could be available. But again, that's on the T-Roc, launched in the UK. When is it coming to America? Not soon enough. Volkswagen hybrids, they had a hybrid Golf or maybe Jetta at one point in time, maybe around 2010, but it's so far in the past that it's laughable. Thank you guys for watching, especially since you made it to the end here. You know, what's going to happen with over 500,000 vehicles imported from Japan, and then we have over 500,000, maybe 700,000 from Canada and Mexico combined that are also brought in. What's going to happen? Who knows? Maybe we'll get cars from UK. Crazy times. And there's a lot of vehicles made in Turkey from Toyota, like the CHR hybrid, for example. So maybe we get some of those. Who knows? It's just crazy times. It's like the Wild West in the car industry right now, as things change every single day. Stay tuned on the channel for more car news. Have a great day and peace.